What just seems so insane based on what he ran on. I mean, this is why a lot of people feel betrayed, right? He ran on no more wars and these stupid, senseless wars, and then we have one that we can't even really clearly define why we did it.
You know, it's so interesting, Willie. Joe Rogan, the scales falleth from his eyes. You had Andrew Schultz, who was sort of, was he MAGA curious or was he a MAGA supporter? Whatever he was, he's not anymore. Like, he's firing on, all cylinders against Epstein, against Iran. A lot of these guys, that were supposed to be the avatars of the bro culture are going, no.
It's really starting to add up. I mean, Rogan, you start with criticism of the Trump administration on the Epstein files, then some pretty loud criticism on immigration policy, on ICE, on the actions ICE taking, and now on this war in Iran, saying none of this is the package that we saw in Donald Trump and voted for. This violates all of that. So at some point, it's not a one-off. At some point, the whole thing isn't what you voted for.
And John, yesterday we get the news out of Doral that the White House is, and by the way, there's a smart political move. I've been looking at the TV camera for months saying they need to do this. I'm not criticizing them for doing this. They did it like 6 months, 9 months late, telling the Republicans, hey, don't use the term mass deportation, which is interesting. You had told me earlier that the White House was telling the president several months ago, stop talking about mass deportation on the campaign trail. It's killing us in the polls. Now the White House is telling the Republicans, stop talking about mass deportation. It's killing us in the polls.
Yeah, a slow pivot, to be sure, but they seemingly got there.
That's an understatement.
Of course, this was such a staple of all of President Trump's remarks last year. And when they were focusing on deporting the so-called worst of the worst, it was still relatively popular. And certainly Americans liked the idea of a closed southern border, polls suggest. But as this got, as the moves got more aggressive, if it moved into like your neighbors, your friends, moms waiting to pick up their kids from school, the American public was already souring on this last year, at the end of last year. And then we add to it what happened in Minnesota, confrontations, the violence, the 2 American deaths. It has become politically toxic. The president's well underwater on this. There's finally been a realization from the White House, stop talking about it. He has largely stopped talking about it, at least for now. And now there's word to Congress, do the same as the midterms approach.
So, Mike, I'm drawing no parallels between the two events, though they have had a significant impact on where the American people go. You were old enough, and I mean this with the greatest of respect, you were old enough to remember what happened after the church bombing in Birmingham, the 16th Street church bombing in Birmingham. That motivated, quote, moderate whites to get up off their ass and start supporting civil rights in a way that black people were not treated like third-class citizens. Same thing with the Freedom Riders, Selma. Those things awakened a nation. Here, you just got a sense that the combination of Renee Good and Alex Preddy would awaken a sleeping nation. And I say that not melodramatically at all. Awaken a sleeping nation. And the combination of those two killings and the execution style, what to me looked like an execution style killing. Would like to use a stronger word, but I'll wait for a jury in the future to make that determination. Awaken this nation.
There's no doubt about that. And we came into this segment with a clip from Joe Rogan, who has clearly been awakened by a series of events. And I would attribute Joe Rogan's insight, and I do believe it's insight, into his sidewalk sense of what's going on in this country. Sure, he's making a lot of money. He's very popular. He's got millions of listeners and viewers and everything like that. But he has a sidewalk sense, speaking to directly what you were just talking about. People don't like certain things, like a guy on the ground, his weapon taken away that he never displayed, being shot 8 times in the back. And the worst of the worst, little kid, with a 5-year-old kid being shipped out, to Mexico or wherever they sent him. People don't like this. And then you take the fact that gas prices are up, groceries are up, Health insurance costs are through the roof if you can
Right.
get health insurance.
Right.
It's all right there.
They're shipped to Texas, and then the little boy was shipped back. But yeah, it's all too much. And, you know, by the end of this, Mika, 7%, Cato said that by the end of all of these things, and they're still going on, only 7% of the people that were being detained were the worst of the worst.
Well, and that's the point. I mean, it is true that U.S. citizens got sucked into this and were treated terribly and murdered. And the investigation's taken away from the state where it happened, so that accountability isn't even real either. And that is frustrating, and everyone can see that with their eyes. But it's also what's happening to undocumented people. People here on American soil all get treated the same way, and they are given due process, and they have rights. And these ICE thugs just ran over everything that law enforcement is about, and nobody liked what they saw, whether it was undocumented or there may be a few very hardliners on the right who think this is the right thing. But Donald Trump promised mass deportations like you've never seen them before. And he delivered. So now they want to take back on that word? Good luck.
Well,
this was his campaign line. You're going to get mass deportations like you've never seen them before. And he was right.
Let me just say,
and now they're building deportation centers.
Let me just say a couple of things. First of all, whether it was a murder or not, you said murdered. Whether it's a murder or not will be determined, of course, by a jury.
I would say execution-style killing. Is that a safer way of putting it?
That's what I said, that it looked like that. And a jury, and that's why I said a jury will determine what if there's criminal connection to this. I suspect we will see that at some point. But the other thing, too, is it's just, Willie, we all know that there are a lot of people who are border patrol agents that have been in ICE for quite a long time, who've also been disgusted by what they've seen. The lack of discipline in Minneapolis, the lack of discipline by these new recruits that have just been thrown in there, a lot of them with absolutely no discipline whatsoever. I sure as hell know, and I know Mike's heard it, we've all heard it, police officers are just deeply offended by the recklessness. I think it's also very fair to say that there are people in Border Patrol and in ICE who have also seen what's happened and have been disgusted by it.
No question. Career Border Patrol agents disgusted, and some of them have become whistleblowers and talked to media outlets about the lack of training, about curtailed training for these new people who are out in the streets meeting quotas. They have numbers given to them by Stephen Miller. You've got to round up this many people. And so for now, the White House at Doral to talk to House Republicans and say, hey, don't talk about mass deportations, one, and just focus on the part where we're going after violent offenders.
Worst of the worst.
Well, that is what people voted for. Seal the border, get the worst of the worst. But that's not what's been happening. So that horse has left the barn. You can't suddenly say, no, actually what we're doing is going after the worst of the worst, when we've all seen what we've seen with our own eyes on television, and people have seen what they've seen in their communities, where people who've been here for 20 years and owned a restaurant and been tax-paying members of the community are getting pulled out and sent back to their countries of origin.
Because, Jonathan, I've always said my parents, if they were alive, they would have been deeply offended by how open the borders were during the Biden administration, during the first few years of the Biden administration. And they would be deeply offended by what they're seeing in the streets of America now. And so let's just be very clear. That's where my parents always, I always could look to my parents and say, hey, Mom, Dad, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? I know they would have said, why are they letting all those people in? Why do we not have a border? And then they would say, why are they doing that to Americans? Why are they doing that to immigrants? Why are they doing that? So, I mean, this is all pretty easy stuff to sort through. Americans want a closed, tight, not closed, but they want a tight, secure southern border. And they also want these immigrants treated with respect. And yes, held accountable by law, but treated with respect.
And no question, polls suggest Americans believe this administration went too far, significantly too far. And there's a little bit of a reset here, Caddy, in terms of the politics of this. We have this messaging from the White House. to congressional Republicans. We have a sigh of relief from some on the GOP that Secretary Noem is now out. They think she was the very toxic face of this policy. But the quotas have not been rescinded. Like, there's certainly the administration has taken its foot off the gas, at least for the time being. But Stephen Miller is still the architect of this plan. And now there seems to be a bit of a pause as they wait to see look at the polls, look at the politics. Do they forge forward again down the road? That remains to be seen.
Yeah, I mean, interesting that you went to Stephen Miller, because that's exactly what I was thinking about, too. We've had Tom Homan in, we've got Kristi Noem out. We don't have the kinds of scenes we saw in Minneapolis at the beginning of the year. We don't know if that is something that we're going to see again between now and the midterm elections. It seems unlikely given the polling numbers. But Stephen Miller, for everything we hear about him, still very much in the president's good graces, still the person that has an enormous amount of power, despite having the lowly title of Deputy Chief of Staff in the White House. So is there any sense in which Stephen Miller and his agenda, because this is his agenda, he is the one that has been pushing this, is there any sense in which he has revised his position at all and won't be pushing hard on this again if the polls start to change?